G'day. Going to do a video on the DIY of spotlights for your Africa Twin. I suppose you could do this on a lot of different bikes, but this is rather specific. A few people have asked me how I did mine, and I thought it'd be easier just to do a video. I recommend removing all the fairings in the tank. You need to remove the fairings on the front to be able to do this, but I do recommend moving the tank and not trying to run your wiring sort of as best you can. It's better to run it deep within the guts. It's a lot neater. Yeah, I'll just do a bit of a how-to on both the high-low setup or just the high beam setup. High beam setup is much easier. The low beam is a little more involved. And you can run the factory switches like I've done, or you could just run generic switches, on-off switches if you like. Now, let's get started. Now, if we have a look at the dash, this switch here is a genuine Honda switch, which I recommend. This switch here is a AliExpress switch, which I don't recommend. And don't ask me why I've got two different types. There was an issue with Honda supplying me the switch, so I ordered the AliExpress one. And as soon as the AliExpress one was due to arrive, Honda rang me and said, "Oh, your switch is here." Turns out I needed two switches anyway, but if I'd have known the way I was going to go, I would have run just the factory switch and made my own little LED holder for it, because I think it's a much better switch. The loom I'm running down to under the seat with the relays. I was going to run them behind the front, but it was going to get too squashed, and I found it better to run them under the seat in case I needed to get to something, because it's a pain in the ass getting the fairings off, obviously. The relays have pretty much set me up. Everything's under here, so if I need to make changes, I can actually make most of the changes from here without interfering with the front of the bike. The lights I've chosen, which I'm going to test, are these. If I don't like them, it's not that big a deal for me to change them over. So far, they seem to be the deal. Now, I'll give you a little demonstration. We'll turn the ignition on. Okay, there's your normal headlight as you see it. Okay. There's my auxiliary lights. Now, I haven't focused the beam as yet, but that's them there, a yellow light. And then switch to high beam. There's my high beam. So obviously they're a little bit too high at the moment, but I'm going to bring them down. Now, the way I've done it, which I know there's a workaround, but I haven't worked it out yet, but for now I'm happy with this, is if I turn off the low beam switch, it'll turn both lights off. So legally I've isolated both of the lights so they have their own switches, but they won't work unless I have the low beam one on. I'll work out the workaround, but as I said, with what I've done here, it's not too much of a faff about if I have to change it. So we'll go and have a look at the drawings. Now, this is a drawing for just a high beam only, which is a lot more simpler. Now, I will include some shots of some of the plugs and whatnot, but there's a company called Eastern Beaver, and you can buy the loom adapters, leads, and so forth. But I'm a bit of a tight ass, and I like to do things myself, so I just bought my own plugs. I bought the ones with the leads already on them, so it saved me a lot of time and mucking about. So I made up my own loom that goes behind the dash, which I will put a link to the other video that got me onto this, but there was some stuff that was missing out of his videos that I sort of struggled with for a little bit until I figured out through some reading and whatnot how it was done. And then I'm running high-low beam, so there was some complexities with that. So with this, we have your 4-pin relay, we have your dash, we have, now this is where the only point in which you've got to tap into your loom. Otherwise, with making up your own leads, you don't need to cut into your loom at all. Now, the main loom is on the left side of your bike. There's a number of plugs in there, but there's one, it's like a 20 wire plug. You'll know when you see it, it's a large plug, and there's one blue wire. That is the high beam indicator wire. Now, you use that as your trigger for your relay. But what you do is you run it. I run it through an LED because this factory switch does not have an LED in it. So I run it via an LED into my factory switch. It comes out of my factory switch, and then it goes into the blue-black wire, or is it blue-purple? I don't know. Blue-black into your dash, which lights up the dash to show that your light is on. It tees off and goes to the 86 pin on your relay, and that from 87 goes to your spotlight. 30 is your power going in, and 85 is your ground. It's really simple doing this one. So what I had trouble with was working out where this wire interacted with the plug that was at the back, and they mention a lot in little videos about this plug at the back, and you can make your own Y piece. So you'd have say 2 of these and then 1 of these, and they branch off, and there'll be another one of these off to here. This would go into your factory plug behind the dash, and then this would go off to your accessories, and then another one would go off to this lot. So through your switch, that's the plug that goes off into here and then also goes off into here. It is really simple. Okay, here's your high-low with your 2 relays. Here's your explanation, which wasn't on the other sheet. So light blue is your high beam, green is your ground, red yellow is your switch power, and blue black is your fog light indicator. Basically, your light blue will go back into the fog light indicator, and that's what illuminates your dash and tells you that your light's on, and that is here. So it comes to here, one tees off and goes to your dash, and then also goes off to 86 on the pin of your relay. That's both just in the normal spotties or also on the high-low setup. Now, my setup is I'm running 2 relays. One's a 4-pin and one's a 5-pin. Power comes into your 4-pin via 30, comes out of 87, goes into 30 on the 5-pin. The spotlight is on 87, and the low beam is on 87A. So while one is switched off, power will go directly through 87A. As soon as I switch the power to the high beams, it will flick over and 87 will override, and that will be where the power is going through. Now, I took the power for my low beam just off the accessory power, your switched power. The reason I did that is because the lights come on all the time anyway, so I thought, well, when I turn the ignition on, the lights are on, so that's what we'll use for our power for the low beam, as a indicator light, I should say. So the indicator comes out the back of the plug behind the dash, goes into my switch, and then it goes through down to 86, and that is the indicator for the low beam into 86. The indicator, the blue, for the high beam is 86 on the 5-pin relay. It's quite simple when you sort of break it down, but at first it just seems quite confusing. The main loom, where you're taking the blue wire out of, you're only splicing into 1 wire on the whole build. I try to minimize this as much as possible, but you're going to have to cut in at some point. The plug behind the dash, which is used by Eastern Beaver. Now, some people go off and, like I said, go and buy the Eastern Beaver one, or you can just make your own. You have the ground, the blue-black which is your fog light indicator, and your accessory or your switch power wire go in. The blue goes off to your dash indicator. The blue-black goes off to your relay via the switch, and the red-yellow also goes to the relay via switch, obviously to your 4-pin relay and your 5-pin relay. I'm hoping this makes sense. It really is quite simple once you get your head around it. Now, the switch I use, that's the genuine Honda switch I recommend. I'll post a link to the other guy's builds, and so you can use a bit of what he said, and how he made his little LED backlight. So all you do is just have that in your loop as far as power running through, and it just comes via the LED through the switch down, and then off to 86 and off to the dash. Hopefully this is making sense, because it makes sense to me, but then I've been staring at this for ages now. Now, you don't have to use the factory switches. I just wanted it to look factory. You can just get your normal round switch and drill a little hole and plonk that in the little cutaway things in the dash and go that way. I just wanted it to look a little bit more like it was a factory setup, so that's why I did the way I've done it. If you have any questions, just ask. I'm pretty open to try and help people as much as I can. This braid, I got this also off AliExpress. I bought a few different sizes depending on what I was doing, and I ran all my loom through the bike with that covering it, and that made a difference to the overall look of it. Now, my wiring is all neat. It's tucked away up there. It runs along the subframe down through there, runs through the inside of the frame, and then comes up into here. Now, I've also added a little accessory box that runs off I'm running 12 volt from the battery with my fuses, and then there's a plug back here, which is a 6-pin plug. The plugs at the front are 4-pin. The back 6-pin, there's constant power and switch power. I've taken the switch power and run it to this little relay box. Now, the things that's running is just my extra USB chargers. I did away with the cigarette lighter plug. I kind of wish I'd kept it now, because I run this one here just so it's right next to the phone, and then I've got this little unit here which is running my other phone that I'm using as my GPS. Now, that might change later. I might run a proper GPS, but my budget's not allowing for that at the moment, so I do with what I've got. And yeah, if I want to run something else like my tyre monitor or whatever, or even charging my air compressor for my tyres or whatever while I'm travelling, is easier to do. I did this on my race bike, so it's kind of working for me, but I'm running my positive and my negative here. Now, I used to do this on the race bikes because we used to jump the bikes, so I can just plug onto that with clips with my charger, and I can charge the bike up if I need to. I know they'll get covered in mud and whatnot, but for the most part, I won't need access to that. But yeah, it's just if I have to, I know I could get to it. And I've got little Anderson plugs. I've got alligator plugs, so I can use that to, for other things, even a solar panel if I wanted to. Yeah, hopefully this helps you out. Yeah, give us a like. It helps us out. I try to like as many of the YouTubers that I get info off and try and share the love. Does help. Like I said, if you got any questions, just ask. I'll try and help as much as I can. I hope you like the lights. They're pretty cool. I actually can't even remember where I bought them from. Someone's asked me, and I've actually been searching. Did I buy them on eBay? Did I buy them on Amazon? Did I buy them on AliExpress? I don't know. I keep looking, and I can't seem to remember where I bought them. I'll keep searching, and if I do find it, I'll put a link. I'll put a link in the in the video. Yeah, thank you very much. Stay safe out there. Cheers.